On today's video, we're going to be talking about all my aquariums. Every single aquarium which is down here in my fish room. But the first fish tank we're going to cover is my brand spanking new 125 gallon Discus aquarium. Let's hop into it. So usually for my Around the Island updates, we'll start off at the 220, but because you guys haven't seen this aquarium yet, let's go ahead and take a look. So this is the 125. This is a brand new tank setup. Not a brand new tank, but the setup. And right now you can see all the Discus are kind of hiding out, and they've actually been really not hiding recently. To maybe take them out, I've actually just fed a little bit of food, but I'll put a little bit more food in there right now. So this tank's been doing really awesome. So this actually was like a miscellaneous tank for about 2 years or so, and I really kind of was getting a little bit bored of it. So what I wanted to do was kind of convert it into something different. I wanted to really kind of make it into something fun. So I had 6 Discus in my 75 gallon tank, and then I made this tank, and I have never had a tank as nicely scaped as this before. I really wanted to have like a really natural looking setup for the Discus. So really a lot to cover here. A lot of new fish in here. I have 9 domestics in here and 2 wild Discus. Everyone's been treated for internal parasites, externals, things like that. The fish are actually doing so well in here that I don't know if I can get it in focus because I actually have some floating plants. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's actually eggs on the heater which is over there. So we got some spawning behavior. Those Discus actually used to spawn in the 75 gallon when they were in the other tank, but they now are spawning in here as well. So what's really cool is all the Discus I have, but I wanted to really highlight like a lot of like the away from the commotion, like some smaller fish. So we got that little cichlid that we got from Underground Aquatics, and I actually bought 5 of them, and one by one they all got picked off. They were all like really aggressive with each other, so that was the alpha, and it kind of just killed everyone off. It really it wasn't the greatest, but I found out they're hyper aggressive. So those fish are very, there's not a lot of information about these guys on the internet, so we found out the hard way that they're a little bit aggressive. I read that they're aggressive with each other, but I thought that in a footprint of 6 foot by 18 inches that they would be fine, but clearly it wasn't enough. We have a lot of corridors in here. A lot of them are hiding out right now. Here's some right here. Got a couple different species. Got some lasers. Got some Delphax. Got some Aeneas in here. The black corridors. We have our black line tail tetras. We even actually have some wild Peruvian caught angelfish in here as well, which are also doing really well. The really kind of issues I had in this aquarium early on was not like actual issues. They were actually just the Discus were hiding a lot. That's why I threw in some floating plants. This floating plant really helped out a lot. I put the lights at about 50% and put this floating plant in. This is just water sprite that's floating. And it really helped make the Discus feel a lot more secure. All the domestics are out and about, all 9 of them. They're really kind of coming about and being personable like they were in the 75 gallon. The wilds, which I read can take a little bit extra time, they're kind of hiding out still. Really excited about this tank. Really like a natural look. Like there's so much going on inside this tank. We have a lot of driftwood. We have a lot of plants, a lot of rock work, and then like a lot of like littler stuff. Like a lot of sand kind of burrowing over. We got some driftwood kind of with some guava leaves. Got some like fundo stuff from Tannin Aquatics that I got a couple of years ago. Really cool stuff. One of the issues I am having, I have a couple of whiptail catfish in here, as well as 2 plecos. I have a red ancestris pleco and also a sunshine pleco. They're really disrupting the plants. I'm moving the plants around a lot. Like, for example, you'll see like the roots kind of coming up on this one right here. I think that's going to stay, though. It's been like that for about a week. But like this guy, I just had to actually replant. So, not really sure. You can see the sunshine pleco. He's right back there. You can see his tail. We might add a little bit more Discus in here. Maybe like 3 more or so. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of up in the air about it. But I'm very happy with how this tank has kind of really kind of shaped out. And some of these Discus guys, I mean, they're really, like, it's not really getting picked up on camera. This tank is, like, completely tea-colored. It's, like, really tea-colored. There's a lot of new wood and leaves and botanicals in here, and it's really kind of bringing out a lot of the natural coloration of a lot of the fish. So yeah, this is the new 125. I'm really happy about it. If you guys do like this aquarium, be sure to let me know in the comment section below if you want to see more of this aquarium. Definitely know that as well. Like I said, I'm super excited about this tank, and I really hope you guys are too. Usually at this point, I like covering the 220, but let's talk about this aquarium. This is the grow out tank, quote unquote, for right now. There's a lot of really cool fish in here, but the three newer fish, we got the catfish, the storm-eye catfish. He's doing awesome, swimming around the tank. We also have the Pyara, which is right over there. He was a little bit more finicky, the Pyara. When we first moved him into here, he was feeding great in the tank at Underground Aquatics. But once we moved him in here, it kind of took him a little bit, which I kind of knew was going to happen. It took him about a week to start eating in here, and he's finally beginning to eat like a beast again. So I'm really excited about that. I also noticed that the lights, this is at 50%. This is actually only about 5%. I actually had that off completely. Only one side of the tank was on, and he started eating like crazy. So just recently, I put this back up to 5, and I'm going to try and put this back up to 50% to match that one. But as long as he just gets a little bit more acclimated to the aquarium. As you see, he's definitely becoming a lot more active. The first week or so, he was kind of just laying on the bottom of the tank, like hiding out. Now he's swimming a lot more with the barracuda and really kind of becoming a little bit more personable, kind of like the storm-eye catfish. And the other fish we want to talk about, obviously, are these barracuda. They are putting on a lot of size, like in regards to girth. They're becoming really nice and thick-looking fish, and they're putting on really nice colors as well. They're just not really growing that fast in regards to length. I think that's going to kind of come in a little bit of time. They overfeed this tank a lot, like a lot. And the reason why is because I want to grow these fish. And it's hard to grow them because we got... also, I think the reason why the Pyara wasn't really eating the greatest was because of these hoplo catfish. I love hoplos. In long term, I have a good idea to have like these hoplos and some other fish. But for right now, I think that, they're actually very aggressive eaters. As you can see, all these albino marble hoplos are just all laying in the back here. Long term, I think I'm going to put them in the 40-gallon breeder. I'm going to do, as you guys can see on the channel, I'm doing a lot of big changes. Short term, I'm going to turn it straight to a grow out. Only fish that are growing out for the 220 will go into this 75, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. There's a fish with George that needs to go into the 220 before we can do that. Speaking of the 220, this tank has also had a little bit of updates as well. But not in regards to stocking, but in regards to layout. So if you are new to my channel here, this is my 220-gallon aquarium. It houses all my exotics, my big exotic fish. So it has 2 Kelberry peacock bass, my black arowana, a datnoid fish is down over here. It has my spotted gar, and my marble Motoro hybrid something stingray. But if you remember, I had like a big centerpiece in here, which actually was, sorry for my glare here. It was actually this piece here and that piece, but they were laid out a little bit differently. What I did was I added some rocks to here, moved that piece, and added 2 other pieces. I really do love the way that this tank looks now. If you just open up the door to my fish room and look, it looks really well. I like the way the light hits the woodwork. I think the fish really prefer this scaping as well. The stingray definitely has a lot more space over here to kind of hang out, and she always swims up and down this wall. So this woodwork isn't close enough that I'll like hurt her at all. It's just really it's a very good setup for her. And it's actually, sometimes when I'm feeding, she'll actually even swim all over the wood and everything. I actually caught her the other day in between like this little gap here. And the datnoid actually likes the little curves and such too. But he's a very active datnoid. People who know datnoids know that. People comment or DM me actually asking what I do with this datnoid because he's extremely active. A lot of people will have datnoids that are unstable, that really kind of just hang out in the corner. And you can see this guy is very personable. Like he's coming right up to the glass looking at me like, hey, you gonna put food in here or what? What's gonna happen here? So he's really awesome. I've had him since he was tiny, and as you can see, he is a very big fish, and he's only gonna be getting bigger. Speaking of getting big, the black arowana has gotten really, really big. I saw a video from about a year ago, and he was probably about half this size. So I expect him in a year from now being double in size than he currently is. So excited for him to continue growing. The fish that we were talking about earlier, about before we do all the next big bunch of changes, is the Zebrina fish. This is my another 75-gallon aquarium. This houses my Oscar George. In this aquarium with George, we got George the Oscar fish. He's 6 years old. Then we have his tank mate, the female Jack Dempsey, who has not been doing that great for the past few months. She has like a extended rib cage. I've looked this up in the past. Sometimes some older fish will get it, or fish with like an intestinal issues, where her stomach is all kind of bloated out. You could try feeding peas, treating with salt. I've kind of tried it all. And she's had this on and off for probably about 3 or 4 years now. So I'm trying to help her out, but I'm really kind of losing a little bit of hope in her. It's going to be a little bit sad because, you know, if and when something does happen to her, because she's been with George for so long. But the Zebrina pike, I've actually had for probably about 8 months now, 10 months or so, and he's been putting on some good color and some good size. And the goal for the Zebrina is to put him into the 220. I just don't want to put him in the 220 too soon. Although he looks big and large inside this aquarium, he's not. He's probably about 9 inches or so. And the Kelberry peacock bass in there are probably about 15 inches. And the thing about peacock bass are their mouths are very large. So he definitely could potentially fit into their mouths. I told myself probably about another month to 2 months, and the Zebrina definitely will be good to go inside the aquarium there. When we did the big move, making the Discus aquarium, the 3 brown hoplo catfish, I moved into this aquarium. So the reason why I wanted to do that was because to, one, add a little bit of cleaner fish, you know, a little cleanup crew in here, but also back in the day, George and the Jack Dempsey, they actually had those brown hoplo catfish with them in the 125 when they were in there. So I said these 3 fish, the 5 fish, they've all been together before. It'd be kind of cool to add them all in here. And then we have the Mustang pleco, the Mustang cactus pleco that we got from my good friend Mitch. He's definitely going to be in here long term. I don't really plan on moving him out of here really anytime soon. Moving on to the last aquarium, we have the 40-gallon breeder. And speaking of growing out fish, there's 2 fish in here that need to be grown out. And it's a little bit too small of a tank to have them. This tank looks a lot brighter from the last time we saw it because that piece of water sprite there that's floating actually came from this aquarium. So this aquarium usually is very dark, and I have floating plants in here because of the red wolffish, who's being grumpy and hiding out. The red wolffish is doing really awesome though, really puts on some incredible colors, especially around feeding time. Also in here we have the spider Kelberry peacock bass, and then we have a shovel-nosed lima. Shovel-nosed lima is putting on like ridiculous size in here. He eats like an absolute monster. So the ultimate goal is to kind of make this more of a community setup. Add a lot of those hoplo catfish into this aquarium. Put the red wolffish in with George, and the Kelberry and the shovel-nosed lima will then go into the 75-gallon where the Payara and the Barracuda and the Stormite catfish are. So we can all really heavily feed all the same fish that we want to grow out and put into the 220. So if you guys did like this Discus aquarium, definitely let me know in the comment section below. It's definitely something new for me. I've always said to myself early on in the hobby, like I was not a big fan of Discus. I kind of didn't understand like why people even kind of like liked Discus. I love them now. I really genuinely love them. But as you guys can see, and especially with the length of this video, there is a lot going on inside this fish room. So be sure you are subscribed so you do not miss any of the next and upcoming things that we're going to be doing.